As you come into the room, let me know where you are listening from, where you're coming in from. Got Jonesboro, Georgia. Thank you for being here, Sharon. Thank you also for being a channel member. I'm sure you have had an interesting week this week. It can also have been a good week. We got to take our moments as we get them as a caregiver. As we get those good moments and those precious moments, we definitely have to value them. As you come into the room, let me know where you are joining from, your city, your state, your province, your country. And if you have any questions, let me know what questions you have for me. I'm Dr. Macie Smith, your social gerontologist, providing you all the support that I can to help you along your caregiving journey while you're caring for someone living with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. So tonight we're going to talk about bathing. When bathing becomes a battle. That has been a trending question for me over the past couple of weeks. In that loved ones with dementia are refusing to bathe, or when they're being convinced to bathe or highly encouraged to bathe, they may be getting some aggression. They are exhibiting combative behavior, or just being what people say non-compliant behavior. And I don't like that word. I don't like for adults to be referred to as being non-compliant, whether they have a medical condition or not. They are an adult. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. And they have the right to choose not to do it. So if you're caring for someone living with dementia and they are refusing to bathe, or they are giving you a hard time because they don't want to bathe, I'm from the South, so we say wash. They don't want to wash. So a couple of things. Number one, do y'all know how many steps are involved in taking a bath or taking a shower? A lot of steps. Think about when you were a toddler, and I don't like to compare adults with dementia to toddlers or children because they're not, but it helps you to develop a mind frame as to how they're thinking, because they think very concretely. I'm not saying they think like children, but they think very concretely. You ain't never want to take a bath when you were a child. I know I didn't. I used to sit in the tub and splash around the water so my mom and dad would think that I'm washing, but I really wasn't. But by the time I did all that, I could have just gotten in the tub and washed. But there are so many steps involved in taking a bath or taking a shower. They just don't want to do it. It's a whole job, right? So that's number one. They just don't want to do it. We know that they have to bathe at some point in time for good hygiene, to make sure that they're clean, to make sure that they're going to stay healthy, make sure they don't have any skin breakdown or rashes or decubiti. That's those ulcers. So they're going to have to bathe. Hygiene is very key. So one of the things that you can try, number one, is not trying to force them to bathe every day. They don't have to bathe every day, because the goal here is good hygiene. When we think about the generation that our seniors and our loved ones were raised in, they did not bathe every day. You know how many times they bathed per week? They would bathe one time per week. Do you know what day of the week they would bathe? On Saturday. You know why on Saturday? Because they have church on Sunday. So why are we aggravating them about taking a bath, submerging in water every day? Because in our minds, people should wash every day. Yeah, that's if they don't have dementia or cognitive loss, and they just really don't want to do it, and they're very concrete thinkers. And we got to think about the generation that's caring for our seniors with dementia, or our loved ones with dementia. The average caregiver is 49 to 50 years of age. That is the average age of the American caregiver. That generation don't know nothing about bathing one time a week, right? It's every day you're bathing. But you don't want to force them. You can't force them, because if you physically force them into the bathroom or wherever to bathe, that could be construed as abuse. If they become injured or bruised, you could be charged with abuse. So you don't want to physically force them to do anything. So let's try not aggravating them about bathing every day of the week. Don't want to do that. Number two, what mode or method are you making available to them to bathe? Is it them getting in the shower? Because all you have at your house is a shower and your mom or dad live with you. Well, let's think about it again. They're very concrete thinkers. When you get in that shower, where is the water coming from? The water is coming from top, it's coming overhead, and that is very scary. Almost could feel like they're drowning. So that is a scary mode or method of bathing for them. And you say, oh, well, dad would take a shower every day, every morning, every night. It was a non-issue. He enjoys taking a shower. Well, clearly he does not enjoy taking a shower, because every time you're trying to put him in the shower or coerce him into getting in the shower, you get cussed out. You might get knocked up. You know, they may start with aggressive outbursts because they don't want to do it, right? Also, if that water and the rays of water are hitting them on their skin, it could be very painful for them. That's another reason why they may not want to bathe, because the offering is a shower. Also, to think about when you take a shower, while the water is running, over you and it's warm, it feels really good. But once you cut that water off in that shower, it gets what? It gets cold. And y'all already know our seniors don't play that. They do not play being cold. They don't like being cold. They don't want to be cold. They're not going to be cold, right? Many of you have older loved ones who don't have dementia. You walk up in their house, I don't care if it is the heat of spring, that heater might be on, because my grandma had a little pallet heater. That heater was always on year round. They like it warm because they're cold natured. So you think about the temperature in the bathroom. If you're trying to offer them to take a bath in the tub, how deep is the tub? Are they afraid to get in the tub? Do they feel like they're going to fall? The bathroom is a very scary place for anybody to fall. There's sharp edges, porcelain, and so they may be afraid to get in the tub. And when we think about that generation, how did they bathe back in the day? There weren't any showers back then. We're talking about what, 50s, 60s. There weren't, big sauna like bathtubs in a bathroom. They were bathing in the foot tub. Now, I don't know how somebody's big old body could fit in a foot tub, but that's how they bathe. And so what you're offering them is unfamiliar to them. I know you're saying, but they always bathe. Mom loves to bathe. She would take hours in the bathroom just soaking. That is before dementia. Now they have dementia and they're reverting to previous life's patterns. They're associating what they should be doing in their life with the moment in their life that's in their mind. So you really have to meet them in their mind and meet them in the moment. You have to know the year your loved one was born and the years in which they were raised. So that way you know what to offer them, because you want to offer them something that's familiar in the time that they can actually relate to in that year. So they don't want to do it. It's too many steps involved in the traditional bathing that you're talking about. They don't want to take a shower because the rays are hurting their skin. The water is coming overhead and it's very scary and it's cold. You want to offer them a foot tub. That is familiar to them. You only want to offer them to bathe a couple of times a week because that's what they're accustomed to, where they are in their mind. Again, meeting them in their mind, meeting them in the moment. You also want to warm the bathroom up. The bathroom needs to be really, 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 really toasty. Now, it might be too hot for you, but if you know anything about caring for someone with dementia, it ain't about you. It's no longer about you, because you have a fully functioning, accommodating mind. You can change, you can accommodate, you can go with the flow, you can pivot. They can't. They're trying to hold on to the very core of independence and the familiarity that they have. And so it takes us to help them through that, right? And so you want to make things available that they may be able to identify with in order to accomplish a particular goal. So you'll offer them a foot tub. Somebody got a foot tub somewhere. You can go on Amazon. They got foot tubs everywhere, right? Only offer them to bathe a couple of times a week. Warm the bathroom. Get that bathroom very, very toasty, because concrete thinkers, if they get too hot, they taking some stuff off, right? You also want to be sure that the right person is in position to assist them bathe. They are no different than anybody else. When they go into the bathroom, they close the door because they want their privacy. When they have dementia, guess what? They still want their privacy because they are a person living with dementia. They are a person first. So you want to be sure that if they are in the bathroom by themselves, you might have the door cracked so you can peep in on them, because ultimately, as a caregiver, you're still going to be responsible for anything that happens to them anyway. So you want to try to prepare the environment to promote their independence, but also you want to be sure that they're safe as well. So you want to be sure to have the support tools in that bathroom. You want to have the bath bench in there. You want to have grab bars in the bathroom. You also want to put not nonstick. You want to put stickers in the bottom of the tub, so that way the tub now becomes a nonstick tub, whether they're taking a shower or a bath or what have you. Now that tub becomes a nonstick tub. I'm sorry. It will become a non-slip tub, because you're putting the stickers in the bottom of the tub, so that way it will reduce their falls, right? Warming the bathroom, making sure you make available a foot tub, only offering them to bathe a couple of times a week because they don't have to bathe every day. Last thing, body wipes. You know how they have baby wipes? They have body wipes for adults. And I'm actually going to put a link to the body wipes that I'm referring to in the comment section of this video. They are huge wipes. And if I get a minute, let me bring one. I'm gonna get my daughter to bring one, so that way I can show you what those wipes look like. But they're big body wipes for grown people. They don't require any water at all. They are already saturated with a solution that's very mild, and it's already damp and moist enough for you to actually clean them up while they may be sitting on the side of the bed. You can wipe them up even if they're on the toilet. Again, the goal is to be sure that they have good hygiene and that they're clean. They don't have to submerge in tub. You don't have to force them into the shower because it is scary. How can we get them clean? Another strategy that I use with my grandma who developed dementia, she was not going to go to the doctor's office without taking a bath. So mind you, she probably only had a real doctor's appointment maybe once or twice a month. Well, if we needed her to bathe, she was going to the doctor probably twice a week. So, of course, she would bathe the night before she was supposed to go to the doctor. But on the day that she was supposed to go to the doctor canceled. He canceled. Was that real? In my mind, no, it wasn't real. Was it a lie? I mean, I guess you could say it was a lie, but in the world of dementia, that is a therapeutic fib, because that was our way of getting her to bathe. It worked. Up until the end, it worked. So those are the things that you want to try with your loved ones, so that way you can ensure that they have proper hygiene and cleanliness. Not that they take a bath every day, but that they have proper hygiene, so that way you will reduce skin breakdown, them developing any decubiti, also rashes, and just illnesses in general that comes along with uncleanliness. All right, so if you have any questions, drop your questions in the chat. As you join the live, let me know where you're joining from, your city and your state. Again, Sharon, thank you so much for being a channel member, and thank you for your question. So Sharon, I'm not sure how I should respond when my mom asks me to come and pick her up and to take her home, although she is at home. I asked her once why she left, that she wasn't home. She got upset with me. Okay. We did cover this, I think, a couple of weeks ago when we talked about sundowning. And typically, when they go through sundowning, they want to go home. Like I said in the previous live, it's when the sun is going down, that their body is telling them that they should be doing something. Sharon, does this typically happen between 3, 7 in the evening? Or does it happen randomly throughout the day? Because it's just like you and I. Think about what we do when the sun is going down. We're getting ready for bed. We're cooking dinner. We're making sure kids have done their homework. We are doing housework, we're doing something productive and something meaningful. And your mom is not doing anything around that time of day. And so they're looking for things that are meaningful to them. They're looking for things that are appeasing and appealing and comforting to them. What's more comforting than being home? So wherever she is at that moment in time, Sharon, she's no longer identifying with that place. Because again, the disease itself is so global, it waxes and wanes. You don't know the time frame they're living in at that particular moment until you hear them say something. And at that time, she's saying she wants to go home. The very first thing you don't want to say, Sharon, is that you're already home. So when you've asked her, well, why did you leave home? She took offense to that and she became upset. So you need to write that in your notebook so that way you know not to respond to her that way again. But more importantly, you need to share that with other family members so that way they don't say that either. So that way that won't upset her. So what you can do, you can start talking about home. Right? You can start talking about home. That's called reminiscence therapy. You're starting to talk about the things that they enjoy. And when you start talking about things that they can identify with and that they can have a conversation with you about, that gives them motivation. That gives them value. That gives them worthiness. And so y'all will sit there and start talking about home. Well, who's at home? Who you going to go see? What are you going to do when you get there? As y'all are talking about things, this is how you start the redirection process. You're starting to talk about things that they enjoy and things that they can actually, can you bring me the pack so I can show them the pack? I'm sorry. No, I need the body wipe. I want to show them the body wipe. She brought me a regular wipe. Y'all don't use these.
Hi guys, I want to show y'all my hair.
She just got her hair done. She just so stank.
What?
The body wipes.
All right.
I mean, stink like, a stinker. She's a stinkaboo. That's a stinkaboo. Um, so you want to start talking about things that they enjoy about their home. Who's at home? What are you going to do when you get there? That, as my mom would say, talk would bring on more talk, would bring on more talk. Now what you do is start to move them from that particular area where they had the thought about going home. And that's when the distraction and the redirection starts. The distraction starts when you start talking about home. And then the redirection is when you start to move and talk about home, because now you're moving them from the point where they had the original thought that you can't even fulfill. Right. So I hope that helps, Sharon. But yeah, let me know if that's sundowning, if she's going through that between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. So again, don't say you're already home. You can't go home. Stop asking me that. You want to start talking about home. Another thing you can try, Sharon, too, is if you can do this, get in the car. By the time you tell her, okay, well, mom, get your shoes, get your jacket, get your purse. So let's get something to eat first, then we'll go. Well, let's get something to drink first, then we'll go. Well, let's do this first, then we'll go. By the time you start doing all these other things before you go, hopefully she would have forgotten because you have distracted her and you have redirected her. There is an art in distraction and redirection because you're going to distract her and redirect her with things that she enjoys. Thank you. These are the body wipes. These are the body wipes that I use. I use them myself. My daughter, she uses them. She's an athlete. So, she can't get to the water all the time, right? I use them when I'm traveling. I had a caregiving experience about a year ago. I use them. And so I'll put the link in the comment section so that way you can actually go and get you some too. So this is what they look like. And I'm going to take them out the pack too. You can actually feel the dampness in the pack. Very easy to open. I'm going to show y'all how big they are. And they're thick too. They're not as thick as a washcloth, but they're just as durable as a washcloth. You see how big that is? See how durable that is? It didn't tear yet. These are a lifesaver and they smell clean. They don't, it's not any type of perfume or anything, but it's just they are deodorizing body wipes that you can get to bathe your loved one without them submerging in any water. You want to try to make the caregiving experience as just as accommodating for you as it is for them. So Sharon, I hope that provided you some support for your mom as she asks to go home when she's literally already in her own home. Try putting her in the car, driving her around. If y'all even can get to the car. But again, the whole time you're talking, you're trying to find things to distract her with music, pictures, talking to people on the phone because you know you can't take her home, but don't say you're already home or you can't go home. So I hope that helps, Sharon. Again, thank you for being a channel member. All right. Drop your questions in the chat. Let me know where you're joining us from as well. Your city, your state, your province, your country. All right. Lithonia, Georgia. Thank you for being here, Angela. What if your loved one doesn't want to come live with you and can't afford anything else? Okay, that is very tough because, again, you cannot force them to do anything that they don't want to do. And sadly enough to say, but I'm just going to be real. Y'all know I keep it very real with you because we ain't got time for anything else. Something may occur that may be unfavorable. And when something occurs that may not be favorable, they may have to go to the hospital. Whenever something happens that requires them to be removed from their home due to something other than what you've set up, like just say if they become ill or injured or something and they have to go to the hospital, you want to take full advantage of that opportunity. Once they have left that home for whatever reason, that is your opportunity to make the move. You can come up with all kind of things as to why they can't go back home at the moment. You don't want to say no, you can't. You'll never go home because you're not giving them any hope. You know, when you lose hope, you lose life with or without dementia. Again, they're a person living with dementia. They're a person first, so they still feel the same things that we feel. And so you may say, well, you have to go to, you may have to come home with me for a little while to get therapy. They may be exterminating your home. It's always something that needs to be fixed in somebody's home. So they may be fixing this on your home. But again, you're just trying to bide your time, in order to distract the person, hoping that they forget along the way. Right. So again, don't force them to do anything. You want to wrap supports around them wherever they are, which means you can bring in-home care or, have some neighbors check in on them or other family members. But there is going to be a moment or a time when they are going to leave that home for one reason or another. And when they move out of that home, then that is your opportunity to bring them home with you. Sharon, so you're saying it usually happens between 9 and 10. You don't know if she's napping too much during the day. I did read in your book not to say you're already home. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for purchasing the book and for supporting. Yes, well, thank you. That is a big one, right? Because that means you ain't never gonna help her do nothing. But check on that. That may be a big reason too. She's up at night. So she's not tired, and their days and nights, they will get their days and nights mixed up. So their circadian rhythm is off and it'll shift throughout the dementia care journey. And so you want to be sure that they're engaged throughout the day. Keep them up. Exercising, staying active, having some of the kids come over. I don't know if she goes to an adult day center during the day, but you want to be sure that she's active during the day so that way she could be sleepy at night. And medication is the last thing that I go to. But I had a client once who would do this, right? She during the day she wouldn't nap. Well, she would doze off during the day because she wasn't doing anything during the day. It was just her there all day by herself. Her husband would be, kind of in and out, but it just be her kind of like just, you know, pedaling around, doing things around the house. But at night, late at night, around that time, she would start packing a suitcase so that way she can go home. And it was causing agitation. It was causing extreme distress, not only for her, but for her husband, who was also elderly. So, because it was causing all this distress, we tried to put these strategies in place with him. But, when they're around the same age, a lot of times spouses, they don't have patience to do that whole distracting thing and to talk about things and, hoping to, take their mind off of it. And so he did a little bit of it. He wasn't successful with the communication piece for distraction. And so the doctor did put her on melatonin, which is a medication that you can get over the counter. It's an over the counter medication, but the doctor still has to prescribe it. You don't ever want a senior, especially with dementia, taking any medications, or ointments, putting ointments on their skin without having the doctor say it's okay and actually writing a prescription for it. And so she took a melatonin, and that helped some. But we did have to end up putting her on a low dose of a behavioral health medication in conjunction with the melatonin. And that was only because it started to get worse. It started to get worse. She started to become combative, and all the other compensatory strategies did not work. And so I employ you all to try non-pharmacological strategies first. That means non-prescription strategies, the distraction, the talking about things that they enjoy, doing reminiscence therapy, actually taking them somewhere, putting them in the car and driving them somewhere, and they think that they're going wherever they're going, but you have to be playing the radio, you have to be talking about something. Your whole goal is distraction. You have to be very creative. You have to turn into an actress. If you all have ever wanted to be an actor or an actress, this is your opportunity, because you're going to have to come up with some very creative things. A lot of times you want to be sure that they have a routine too, Sharon. I don't know what her routine is. If you don't know her routine, then that means she does not have one. That is not good, because when they don't have a routine, they're going to want to go home. They're going to want to go a lot of places. They're going to want to go to work. They're going to want to go pick up their children from school or from daycare. They're going to want to cook. They're going to want to do all the things that they should be doing anyway during the moment that's in their mind. Again, meeting them in their mind. So when you create this routine, the time they get up, what they're doing throughout the day, and the time that you're preparing their bedtime, uh, their body will be able to adjust to that. And then you will see a lot of the sundowning and the wanting to go home. You will see a lot of that subside, but they have to have a routine. So I hope that answers your question. So there's another question. Should we tell them that they have dementia even though they think they are fine and refuse help? So I have a question for you. If you had a condition that you could not help, I always go back to the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to be, the God grant me the serenity. Y'all help me out with this, to accept the things that I can't change, the strength to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you had a situation that you could not change and it was pretty bad, pretty devastating, would you want somebody to remind you of it all the time? I have had eczema all my life, and I used to hate when my brother would say to me, "You have eczema. That's why your hands look like that. You have eczema. That's why you have eczema." I hated that. I didn't need him to remind me of that, because I knew I had eczema and I really just had to grow out of it, use the ointment, but that wasn't really helpful. I had to grow out of it. So just like you don't want someone to remind you of what's considered bad or, unfavorable or just devastating in your life, they don't want to be reminded as well. You think about, what is the goal of you reminding them? For them to remember? Well, that defeats the purpose because they're not going to remember because, they have dementia. They're going to forget. And so the last thing any of us want to lose is our mind. So you don't want to remind them. Think about the goal. Why are you reminding somebody with dementia that they have dementia that they're going to forget? Right? That's just going to be repeat trauma. There's no need to remind them. Just wrap services around them, wrap support, compassion, and love around them, and try to promote their quality of life for as long as feasibly possible. And I get it. I know that people do tell their loved ones over and over again because they can remember some things. Well, with the progressive type of dementia, especially Alzheimer's disease, they tend to forget recent information. They can remember years ago because they remembered that stuff before they got dementia, and it was deposited in the back of the brain. So it's preserved memory. So they had a healthy brain. They were able to go through the whole memory process, short term, working, long term, back of the brain. When they develop a progressive type of dementia with Alzheimer's disease, it typically eats away at the most recent memories first, which is if you tell them something now, they may forget within the next couple of hours, definitely within the next day or two, but they can remember years ago when they got married. That's just the way the disease works. And so you definitely don't want to remind them that they have dementia. I don't think it's productive for the person, and I definitely don't think it's productive for the caregiver. Should we get a second CT scan to follow up the first CT scan? You can. I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for. Did the CT scan show brain atrophy? So that shows parts of the brain missing, or parts of the brain that has deteriorated. Because if Alzheimer's disease, vascular frontotemporal dementia with Lewy bodies, all those progressive types of dementia, they eat away at the person's brain. And so with scans and MRIs, you can actually see, some of what's going on um, in their brain. With scans, you can also see if there's been any stroke activity. You can also see if there has been any reduction in blood flow. You can see if there are any brain bleeds. So that helps the doctor to determine, the neurologist typically, what type of dementia the person has. So these are great questions. Please drop your questions in the chat if you have any questions about caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. You're caring for someone with memory loss. You think they might have dementia. Definitely drop your question in the chat. If you are not a member of the channel, I invite you to join the channel, become a member. With a member, you get perks. You get first priority to comments as we're having this live stream. You'll have your own personal live stream, video live stream chat. You also have an opportunity to do one-on-one with me too as you go through your caregiving journey. So definitely look at the options that are available to join the channel. I'd love to have you as a channel member to support the channel. You'll get access to member-only videos, behind the scenes. You'll get perks for different merchandise or products I have. I have 2 books. I give free downloads of the books. I give free books. And so you want to become a member so that way you can have access to this growing community of dementia caregivers. Do dementia caregivers do well with cataract or glaucoma surgery? That's a very individual question. Everybody is different. When you've met one person living with a progressive type of dementia, you've met that one person. And so I would work very, very closely with the doctors. You would want to ask, what is the benefit of this particular surgery? What are the risks? And what are the benefits? So you may find that when a doctor lays out all the risks and the benefits, you may choose not to have this particular surgery for your loved one because it's more of a harm than it is a help. If you have a really good doctor, they will tell you, whether it's a good thing or whether it's not. But we have some doctors that say, hey, this is the issue. This is the surgery I can do. It's your choice. It can be very cold and stoic, just like that. But you, as the loved one and the caregiver, you want to weigh the options. You want to get a list of the risks and the list of the benefits, keeping in mind that they have dementia and how it could affect their overall health. And so, that's a question I could not answer because it just depends on the person. What is the best medication for dementia? So dementia itself is the symptom. dementia is not the actual disease. Something causes dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the number one cause or the number one type of dementia. There is no medication for the disease. So there is no medication to treat Alzheimer's disease. But there are medications that doctors prescribe to treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, which is dementia. So when you think about dementia symptoms, that's the memory loss, forgetfulness, the confusion, this agitation, the disorientation, inability to make decisions, inability to think through things. So I'm not a medical doctor. I do not prescribe any medications. Based on me working as a gerontologist in the medical field, these are medications that the doctor could prescribe for dementia. The doctor could prescribe Aricept, Exelon, Namenda. Those are the three medications at any given point in time the doctor could prescribe to someone with a progressive type of dementia. Which one works best for the person? That will be up to you as the caregiver, the person living with dementia, and their primary care doctor, not the hospitalist, not the doctor in the ER, not the doc in the box doctor either. You want to consult with the primary care doctor, the doctor that knows that person well, knows their history, to make a good decision about what medication may work or may be best to treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease or the symptoms of frontotemporal or the symptoms, which is dementia. Now, after a certain time, those medications will no longer be effective. But what typically happens is the family wants the person to stay on the medication simply because they've been on it. And so those are the three that are typically prescribed. Now, there is a new medication for those who have early stages of dementia, and that's the I don't want to botch the name, but that's the infusion medication. The new medication mm, that recently came out that was FDA approved. I don't know why the name escapes me right now, but it is an infusion, and that's only for people with early stage dementia. So you would have to catch them in the early stages, but they're still doing research on whether or not that medication is even effective as they thought it was going to be. There has been some evidence of improvement, but not marked evidence of improvement. So, those are the medications I am accustomed to seeing doctors prescribe. So, thank you all so much for joining me or joining us, because we are a community, for this Friday night live. Again, I'll be doing these lives regularly, but if you become a member and you join the channel, you will have more access to more full on training videos as it relates to dementia caregiving. You'll have more opportunities to chat with me one on one. You'll have more opportunities to have access to my books and informations. I'll do book readings where I actually go through the book and read them with you. You can bring your own individualized questions. Some of the one-on-one member-only chat sessions will be individualized. We will have personal conversations about your situation. That way we can have a longer opportunity to map out what may be happening. We can do behavior tracking. What happens before this behavior occurs? What are some of the things we could try afterwards? Some of the member perks will give you access to resources in your area, because you're going to need to connect to resources. No one person can provide 24/7 care to someone living with dementia or chronic illness. So I want to be able to support you as much as I possibly can. Last questions. Why do dementia patients have sleep disorders? So I'm not sure that they have sleep disorders. I'm not privy to that. Now, do they have concerns getting to sleep and staying asleep? Yes. To call it a disorder, I wouldn't call it a disorder, but you may be talking about a particular situation. But the reason, what we know from research, and the data supports, and the numbers bear it out, people who have cognitive impairment, which means they have concerns or issues processing um, within their brain. They are having mental concerns with thinking, learning, communicating, remembering things. So because they have cognitive concerns, they experience more anxiety. And because they experience more anxiety, they have trouble sleeping. So let me put it into more of a contextual concept. You know, when you're stressed about something, I mean, them kids got you stressed out, mama's got you stressed out, the job got you stressed out, and you can't sleep because something is on your mind, right? This thing is on your mind, is eating away at your ability to think through things, right? And you can't get any sleep because stress is on your mind. Someone who's dealing with a cognitive impairment, that's a progressive cognitive impairment, something is always on their mind. Alzheimer's disease, vascular disease, frontal temporal, Lewy bodies. And so that's one of the great areas that we see why people with a progressive type of dementia have trouble getting to sleep and staying asleep. So I hope that answers your questions. Again, if it's a sleep disorder, you know, none of my individuals, none of my clients have been diagnosed with a sleep disorder in addition to dementia, but we do know that with dementia, they're going to have trouble staying asleep and getting to sleep and staying asleep because something is on their mind, which is the disease that's causing dementia, causing issues with their mental acuity and their cognitive ability, which is why you want to have a routine. You want to develop a routine with them and you want to stick to that routine so that way their body knows that it's time for them to do said thing. They know that it's time to go to bed because they always pray before they go to bed, or they always brush their teeth before they go to bed, or they always drink hot milk before they go to bed. This particular day, you ran out of milk, so you don't have milk to give them before they go to bed. Well, this particular night, they may have trouble getting to sleep because the routine was broken. So that's just how important a routine is for someone with dementia. Very similar to caring for someone with autism. They're very regimented and they're very routine because it's a neurological condition. Dementia is a neurological condition. If it's caused by something that's progressive, it is neurological. So it's very, very similar. So, thank you all for joining me tonight, joining us tonight for Friday Night Live. I hope I've answered many of your questions. I try to do that as much as possible. Again, continue to, comment on the videos that are available on my channel. If you have an opportunity to join the channel, I want you to do that because we do more live streams, private live streams with the members only chat, members only videos. You'll have access to full on training videos and education content about Alzheimer's, dementia, and caregiving. And so, again, you'll see the little button that says join. Join at whatever level is most comfortable for you. You can join for a month. You don't have to be there the next month, but you'll always have access to the videos that are available on my channel. Again, thank you for joining me again for Friday Night Live. I will see you on the next live stream. Y'all have a safe and wonderful evening.